Oh shit, I didn't know we was live. Oh, okay. All right, let me do this real quick and then we can go. I had everything already set on my end.
I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
Hey, I want you to just be yourself, okay?
I told you I could get a little crazy.
Yeah, you get crazy. Come on.
Okay.
All right, motherfucker, let's get it on. Oh no, nigga, you ain't going nowhere.
We don't give a damn about a thing. I'll be a freak until the day, until the dawn. And we can all through the night till the early morn. Come on and I will take you around the hood on a gangster lean. Cause we can, any time of day, it's all good for me.
Welcome back. We got two nights tonight. Tonight is a special night. We have, some folks that do a little BDSM. For those who don't know what it means, is bondage, discipline, dominance, submission. It's a long word for it. So BDSM are in the building tonight and kink. But before we start, I always gotta say one thing I did this week. Um, so after this that we agreed upon, so after this there will be an Amsterdam clubhouse, the after show for all my iPhone users. So I want you to join us in for that. But before we get into this thing, I've been on my phone for the last 3 days. For the last 3 days, I'm not even gonna lie. So for the viewers tonight, if you are game and if you are with it, Rod has $100 for you. We're going to give the $100 away at the award show, and the way that you get the $100 is this. What's been popular? What's been real popular this week? The Busset Challenge. So, for those who have not seen the Busset Challenge, I want you to drop your videos in the HBCUS Lounge, and we're going to vote. And the winner gets $100 on the award show night. So if you haven't seen the Busted Challenge videos, I'm going to give you 3 examples before we get into with our guest tonight. And here we go. Starting off first, it will be no. We're going. All right. So y'all saw how the Busted Challenge goes. So I'm willing to drop $100 on the award ceremony night for who presents us with the best busted video. And the award ceremony is at 8 o'clock on Thursday, 1/21. All right, so let's get into this tonight. All right, people, how are y'all doing tonight? How are y'all doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
All right, we have Ro, we have the infamous Sir Dreaded Prince, and I didn't catch your name, Miss iPhone. What's your name?
Hey, I'm Tia.
All right. So So my question would be to start, like, how did you guys get into this? Anybody can go first. Anybody can go.
She's muted.
All right,
Okay.
Dreaded Prince. All right, Dreaded Prince, you go first then. Here we go, Dreaded Prince, you go first.
Well, I actually got into it when I was in the swinger community. I had happened to join a group that had chapters of interest, and I found a group or a branch of that group that had talks about BDSM. They actually had a conference call every Wednesday night, and I got to find out this is not just what we all say. This is not just some white people shit. So I just became interested in that. I mean, because the conference call was filled with fellow Black people from across the United States and even out of the United States. So that's how I got into it. You want to share?
Well, I actually got into it when I was my younger years, not of all the way legal age, maybe 16, 17. Living a fast life. It was this older gentleman that I knew, and that kind of got me into it, So it really blossomed when I joined the military. I didn't know the people in the military was some freaks.
Which branch was you in?
Huh?
Which branch was you in?
Army.
Who?
Okay.
Well, my friend, he was like, I need you to come to this club with me. I was like, why? He's like, because I'm a dude, I can't get in free. So I was like, all right. So I went in there and I was like, oh, I didn't know that y'all did the kind of stuff. I didn't know what it was called, but I'm like, oh, I like this. So I was like, about a good 19, because I left the house early. And I ended up running into my sergeant major in there too. So, yeah.
What about you, bro?
Same. I was super young when it piqued my interest. About 15, 16 years old, being fast. And then I researched a lot growing up, and then when I hit the military myself, I got a chance to go to Germany. And it's so funny because it's like Amsterdam talking. I'm like, that's so ironic because the red light district is really what set things off for me. So that opened my eyes, and I had a good time. And after that, I just started to grow and learn. And then I got with a partner who kind of just molded me into more understanding of what the lifestyle is about. So I've been in this for a long time, but it's been part of my lifestyle for a good 6 years. Like just, my 9 to 5, this is what I embrace, the submissive side of myself. So yeah, to answer the question, it's been a long time, but I'm just like my boo over here. The military really just brought that out because I was able to travel and I was able to experience different types of people. So that just turned the light on, and it's been lit ever since.
All right. What about you, Tia? I believe that's Tia.
So very similar story. I'm also military, except I'm Air Force. So it's wild that everybody had a military awakening into BDSM. But yeah, for me, it was a couple years back. I was at my first duty station. I was in Virginia. Well, my second duty station. I was in Virginia. And I ended up meeting this older guy who was prior military, and now he was contracting for the military. So he was living in the same area. And we just kind of hit it off. It started as something casual. And I could see from the beginning, he was kind of making small requests that kind of grew into something more. And at one point I was just like, okay, so what you trying to do? Just let me know so we can both be on the same page here. And that's how I got in. I started as a submissive. That's not where I'm at today, but that was my introduction into BDSM, was just learning everything from this guy who I randomly met while stationed in Virginia.
Okay, well, that see, it's a lot of the military, a lot of the government money. Then did a lot of things for you. I understand y'all traveled the world. You know, so what we're going to do is I want to jump straight into it. So I want to, you know, like what is one of the most difficult scenes you've ever been in? Like, have you ever done, and what did you learn from it? Anybody can go first.
So I have a child, he's 2, but when I first had him, one of the most difficult scenes, and it wasn't because it was physically demanding, I had a submissive who is into erotic lactation. So what that means is basically he liked breast milk.
Breast milk.
So that was mentally kind of a mind fuck for me to get through. And it kind of, like, I was like, oh, I'm still breastfeeding, like, stay away from the titty region. And he was like, oh, yeah, whatever. And then, like, later on, I was like, oh, you're getting a little close. And I was like, hey, but, like, I'm breastfeeding. And he kept going. And I was like, I feel like you hear me and you're doing it anyway. So, like, what's happening here? And that's when he told me, like, he didn't mind. I was like, you don't mind? I feel like it's not one of those things you don't mind about. Like, it's one of those things you're kind of into. And so after having the conversation, he was like, yeah, like, this is a thing I didn't know I was into until, like, the opportunity presented itself. But, like, I kind of wanted to see what that's about. And that kind of, you know, dives into, like, age play and, like, infantilization.
Right.
So I don't know, that was mentally kind of hard for me to get over, especially knowing that, like, the next day I have to go feed my child with, like, the same brace. Like, so I don't know, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Okay, what about you, Sir Dre Prince?
I would have to say the most difficult scene that I've done was to pretty much, I'm, as I mentioned, I'm also a professional dominant. And so a good friend of mine, he does drag shows and things like that. And he actually requested that I have a scene with him. So that was most difficult for me, being that I'm a heterosexual male and I have my friend who's bisexual, I'm sorry. And he expressed the need, and because we already had that trust and he knew what my boundaries were, even though we still negotiated that and still talked about it, as far as me expressing my boundaries and what I'm not willing to do and things like that. That's what that would have to be my most difficult thing, because it was actually with the man. So that's it.
So after the scene happened, are y'all still cool today?
Yeah, still cool today. I think I chatted with him the other day. He was telling me how he's doing as far as his drag shows are going. You know, I know his daughter, so, you know, he was filling me in on how his daughter's doing, things like that, and just you know, just talking about how it is in Mobile, because that's where I'm originally from, Mobile, Alabama. So yeah, we're still friends. Yeah.
Okay, so what about the lady beside you? What's your difficult scene?
Well, my most difficult scene is actually comical. I'm a pro bottom, and I had to travel to Charlotte to do a show for a friend.
Well, don't hold up. Tell some of the viewers might not know what a pro bottom is. Tell them what a pro bottom is.
Oh, okay, so a pro bottom is, you know, just like he said, he's a pro top. Well, I'm a pro bottom, and what I do, I get paid for basically being a model for a top or a pro dominant. So basically, I'm a fill-in if they need someone to beat on, wax play, knife play, any type of thing. That's what I'm there for, basically. So yeah.
Okay.
And I think my most difficult scene, it wasn't so much hard. It was the fact that the person who was the top wasn't very skilled as they made themselves look. And some of the shows that I had seen from a distance, it looked like, you know, they knew what they were doing and they had a lot of hype around their name. So they was like, you know, can you do this for me impromptu? So I was like, yeah, sure. And in the middle of the scene, they whispered in my ear. They was like, hey, I'm gonna need you to make a little bit more noise. I'm gonna need you to act like you enjoying this. So I was like, yeah, buddy, okay. So I was trying to keep a straight face kind of like fake the funk in like over 50 people. I was like, all right. So yeah, that has been my most difficult moment.
What about you, Ro?
This is weird to say, not really, but the format, I don't want to get bleeped off or knocked us off the internet, but
No, you can say what you need to say. You will not get bleeped out. Trust me.
so y'all, I had to chew a dick. Like I had to chew it. And
what?
that was yeah,
What?
like,
That's
you know,
painful.
like chew it. I had to chew on it. And that was difficult for me because I'm like, okay, do what now? And it wasn't like, gnaw it or bite it. I want you to chew my dick. So I chewed it. And that was one of the things that I would never ever forget. It was an experience, and I chewed it.
Sounds like Dreaded Prince. This has happened to you before.
Say what?
No, you were shaking your head. Sound like this happened to you before or something.
No, I was making a motion like you biting, biting down.
Okay. So
I guess that falls in the category of what's called cock and ball torture, I guess. Would you say so?
I would definitely say so.
Yeah.
It also kind of reminds me of like voyeurism, like the sexual gratification by being consumed or consuming another person. A lot of times it doesn't have to do with actual chewing, but I can see it. Like I can see how one would get there.
Yeah.
Wow. that is crazy. But now, so bro, I'm gonna ask you. So, like, with the play types, like, what works best for you? MSDS or TB? Which type play works for you?
Well, I will say this. Like I've always identified as just a dominant. It's been quite a few times where I've mastered before, and it's kind of an honor when someone in the community recognizes the things that I try to do for the community and things that I do to educate people and things like that. So they will give me the title of master. But in this particular relationship, my partner here identifies as a slave, so she needed someone to fulfill the role of master. And there's more to her than just being a slave. I mean, there's also she's also what's called a leader, that daddy role in terms of our dynamic. But in reference to what works for me.
Hold on, Dreaded Prince. Somebody wants you to explain the codes. They want you to explain the MS, the DS, and the TB.
The TB.
I think it's in P. P as in
TB.
Paul.
Oh.
Yeah, that.
Okay, yeah, he said P, not B.
So what, total power?
Yeah.
Okay. So MS stands for master and slave. Typically, on most occasions, not necessarily all the time, but that's considered as 24/7, where 9 times out of 10, most times that you're actually living together as we are. So even with a family, we have a daughter. There are things we do, even when family are present, that's not necessarily always obvious for them to notice. For instance, she doesn't, well, in her family, they, the parents always say mommy and daddy. They say that to each other anyway. So that's okay. That's already normal to them. But in reference to us being around her parents or us being around my parents, she would just address me as my actual name or whatever term of affection. But also you mentioned DS, that's dominant and submissive. In reference to TP, I still, because usually I hear the abbreviation of TPE, total power exchange. And I believe that may be what the person is referring to in their question. With total power exchange, that is also something that is similar with master-slave dynamic. It's not always the case with dominant and submissive, but it can be. And total power exchange is where that person relinquishes their power or relinquishes the authority over certain things in their life to who they seem fit to take control of that.
Got you. Got you. Okay, so you feels like you are MS, right?
Yes.
All right. So what about you, ladies down at Row and Tia? What do you are? MS, DS, or do you bring the total power exchange?
Definitely total power exchange for me. I just crave dominance in all areas of my life. So that just works for me. Just having someone just to take care of me, mind, body, and soul for all of the access of me, that just works out better for me. So yeah.
What about you, Tia?
For me, I am a dominant. Personally, I don't like the term master and slave. I understand that there are a lot of people who are cool with that, and more power to them. But I don't know. Being a Black woman, I have trouble with that, just because of the legacy and the history that comes with those terms. And I know for a lot of people, it's empowering. But for me, it's just something that I'm not mentally able to get over. So I prefer terms more like a goddess. That's something that I would prefer to go through, or even mistress or madam work better for me than master.
Got you. Go ahead. I'm listening, Dreaded Prince.
One of the things I just thought about, TP could also stand for trainer and pet, for instance.
Okay.
So that could be also what they're referring to as well, being that just said T and P. So that could be what they're referring to as well.
All right. So I'm gonna start with Miss Dreaded Prince for this next question. Like, what is the most elaborate or most difficult punishment you have ever given, and like, why did you give it, and what did you learn from it?
You mean like receive?
I guess so, yeah.
Well, yeah, no, so you received, yeah, because I forgot you said you were that. So what did you receive, and like, the most elaborate punishment you ever received, and like, well, I guess you can't ask why did they give it because you wouldn't know, but like, what did you learn from it?
No, she would know. She would know. She should know.
I think the most elaborate punishment I ever received is I had to hold a quarter to the wall with my nose as I got paddled. I think that was the most elaborate punishment that I received.
Oh, how did that work though? Holding a quarter, so you're holding a quarter to the wall with your nose, and you're getting hit at the same time. Did the quarter stay there?
Yeah, it stayed there.
Just make sure it stayed.
I made sure it stayed.
I can't. It was actually the first punishment that I gave her, and I can't remember what it was that you did or didn't do.
I had masturbated without consent. That's what I did. And then I felt guilty, so I told on myself, and I wish. Oh yeah.
So you weren't allowed to do that, like.
Not without his permission. I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, it was important to me because at that particular time we were in a long distance relationship. I wasn't living here in this city at the time.
Okay.
So
all right.
I felt like when it came to that, being that she wanted to relinquish her body to me as far as to control, and then that also that when we came together to connect, that I wanted her full energy. And so being that she masturbated without asking permission, yeah, I assigned her that punishment. Yeah.
I got you. Well, what about you, Tia? What about you? Well, what's the most elaborate or difficult punishment you ever been given, and what did you learn from it?
I personally haven't received any kind of punishment. Probably the most elaborate. I've given punishment.
So what did you give them? What did you give?
I have people who come to me for like humiliation kinks. So they're into penis shaming. So probably the most elaborate.
They into what? They into what?
Penis shaming, like humiliation. So like small penis shaming.
I know what
I've had
means.
it down.
I know what it means, but people come to you for that shit.
Yeah, people have paid me for that.
Oh, finish your story, sweetie.
So what I had one guy do, is that he had to reach out to the past 3 people who had seen his penis and personally apologize to them for being such a disappointment. And then he also had to send them a form of payment. So I think it was like $30 that I made him send to the past 3 people. So it was like, you have to send $30 to these 3 people and then also send out an apology for being such a disappointment to them for having such a small penis.
That sounds like some pimp shit right there. You made him send money for being a disappointment. That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, you gotta bless the block. I'm all for like helping out other bitches, right?
What about you, Ro?
Ooh,
I mean, I don't know if you can top chewing a dick. I don't know if you can top that, but
well, see, that you know, if the punishment that I received, you know, so I've been hit before with a horse whip. Like I've had the hand, I've had a paddle, you know, a flog, but I've never ever experienced that type of pain. And it was just one time. I have some beautiful marks to show. I wish I can reveal that, but I can't.
Do you still have, that's what I was going to ask, do you have a mark where it's safe to show, like it's on the side of the cheek or anything like that?
Not the way, no, not the way it shows. And this was like, I want to say, I didn't know no better, y'all. When I jumped into this was some years back, I didn't know no better. So when I thought I was bucking and really, this thing for real, then I was shown very quickly that it's just certain things that you just not gonna do. And I learned that way. It was only a one-time deal, but I will never forget that. And I do have the badges to show, but yeah, I won't ever do that again.
Wow. So we got a question from one of the viewers, like, what is the average pay for pros?
I don't think there is average pay. I mean, there are some people who, and that's not to take away from their actual skill, but you have people, depending on what they're doing. I mean, you can range from 500 and up, 300 and up. It all depends on how they set their rates per session. It also depends on what's being asked of them. I know femdoms 9 times out of 10. When I say femdoms or pendoms, financial dominance or domains, you know, they usually, and maybe one of you can attest to this as far as coming in contact with well-off submissive men who don't mind or who want to be financially humiliated or financially used and things like that. So it may be easy for them to pay higher rates or tributes, as it's usually called.
Okay. All right. So, you know, elaborated. Who I think you speak to.
Yeah, so it does range a lot. It also depends on the relationship you have with your submissive. So for more interpersonal and connected relationships, you probably are getting paid more. I know for like 5 minutes of like penis humiliation, that could range from anywhere as small as like $50 to as big as like $100, $200, depending how long the like interaction goes on. Also, when you get into more dom work that's not in the digital space, so you're actually seeing each other, you're actually doing physical punishments, that can range a little bit higher. The most I've ever been paid for one interaction is $300. But that ranges. Like I said, there are people who make way more than that. There are people who make less than that. And it just depends on like what you're willing to do, and different strokes for different folks. You know, like sometimes the edgier the kink, the harder it might be to find someone who's into that, then the more you might be able to get someone to like pay you for that.
Wow. What about you, Ro?
Being paid? No, I've never been paid or have paid to do any of this work. This is something that I do behind closed doors. You see me out in the street, you would never know like I'm into any of this stuff. So this is kind of kept behind closed doors for me.
I had no idea. She probably knew. I had no idea.
But what about you, Mrs. Dreaded Prince? What about you?
The highest I have been paid for in now, mind you, I identify as a slave. I do not identify as a switch, and a switch is a person who tops and bottoms, a person who switches roles or whatever have you. I do some activity that falls within those realms. However, I don't take on the title as a switch.
Okay.
Now, I do have, men and women both who request things of me, who ask for me to beat them and everything else. But the highest that I had ever been paid was $600, and it was to fart in someone's mouth.
Lord.
And I had to do a milk enema and push it out of my ass into their mouth. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, mind you, okay. See, we're going into, let's be honest about it. We're pretty much going into the sex work of things.
Yeah.
Right. I'm listening.
Although we don't actually engage in sexual activity with these submissives or clients or what have you, it's still considered as sex work because it is essentially centered around what sexually arouses an individual.
What they want, they will pay for what they want. Done.
Yeah. But in reference to BDSM, I mean, hate to go back a little bit, but in reference to your question about punishments, I mean, there's a difference between what's called punishment and punishment. And punishment usually falls in those guidelines that a person enjoys.
Right, the enjoyment.
You can't punish somebody with something that they enjoy.
Right.
You have, as far as a dominant or a top's perspective, you have to get to know an individual so much so to find a punishment that they will not enjoy, but still falls within their hard limits and soft limits. So that just wanted to point that out. But when it comes to the things that we're talking about right now, that falls within the category of sex work.
So what you just said, your soft limits and hard limits, let's flip it. What won't you do?
Me?
Which one?
Either one of y'all, both of y'all, basically. What won't you do?
Pretty much the same. Like anything that threatens my freedom, my livelihood, things like that, I'm not willing to do. Anything that has to do with children, of course, I'm not willing to do.
I understand it.
Cat or shit, I don't want to deal with that at all. As much as possible, I don't want to do that. And what else? That's pretty. And as far as me personally, like I said, I set boundaries as far as if I engage with a male submissive, like there's boundaries that I have that I feel that I'm not comfortable with as far as compromising me as a heterosexual male. But that's about it. And I think you feel the same way as far as the other things that I mentioned. So,
yeah, for me, I don't do bestiality. I don't do pedophilia. And
why don't you do bestiality? I heard that is great.
Well, I mean, I just
we're pet owners. No.
I don't know. I don't know. It just I don't.
Let me make sure here. Are you actually talking about animals, or are you talking about those who?
No, I'm talking about. I've heard that people with animals, they love this shit, this bestiality shit. Like, well, no, I'm like, it ain't my cup of tea, but I'm just like, I heard it's great.
Yeah, no pedophilia, no bestiality. I don't do any limb cutting, and people be like, limb cutting. You have people who will take you there and will do some wicked shit. I don't do any type of no mutilation.
This shit sound like Saw now. This sound like Saw.
It sounds like what's that, Hostel? When they
Hostel,
were
Hostel. Yeah, Hostel.
I don't do none of that. As far as scat shit, I don't take it, but I will gladly give it. I have been paid to do so before. So I mean, So those are my in depth. I'm not trying to die. That's it.
Well,
Yeah.
oh, so what about you two ladies on the bottom row and Tia? Like, what won't you do?
I agree. No babies, no kids, no animals. I can't do shit either way. Either I'm shitting on me or shitting on you. We're just not gonna do shit. But the piss, I can definitely. Piss is good. Spit is good. Okay. Oh, and then I don't want to break anyone's heart. If anybody's out there looking like, oh, she's cute, but I don't take it in the ass either. I just can't. I have a
Hold on,
little
you don't
butt.
take. Oh, let's see your butt. Let's see it. We can judge.
You want the real deal or just?
No, I mean, yeah.
I mean, if you're willing to do it, hey, fine, fuck it, let's
Let's
go.
go.
Ooh, it's
Did y'all
Okay.
see that?
Yeah, we
Yes.
saw.
It's a pancake. It's a pancake. So if you put a dick in there, it's just a type of pain that I'm not really trying to experience.
All booties matter.
But
the
that's
only
why
time I say all things matter.
That's where Ro is.
Oh, before I get to you, Tia, my shirt says tomorrow isn't promised. Get your cheeks clapped today, coronavirus 3.4. I don't have a church shirt on talking to these people. Get your cheeks clapped. Tomorrow isn't promised. Get your cheeks clapped today, coronavirus 13.4. All right, now to you, Tia. I had to just answer that real quick.
I stand the shirt, honestly. I do. But my boundaries are I'm okay with piss and scat play as the doer, not the receiver. I'm not about that life having someone's, I don't know, all their stuff on me. I'm not into vomit play.
Hold on. People vomiting on you?
Yeah. Well, not on me. On somebody. Somebody.
All right, okay,
Listen,
all right, go ahead. Continue your story.
I'm not here to yuck nobody's yum. Okay, that's their prerogative. But that's not for me personally. Like they said, I don't do anything with minors or with animals. I'm a pet owner. I would prefer not to do anything like that. I do, however, you mentioned earlier about no mutilation. I do blood play, but I only do that with people who I have been in a prolonged relationship with. That's not something that someone could come to me off the streets and be like, "Hey, I want to be cut." And I don't do amputation. That's not where I'm at. But small cuts or incisions, obviously, I'm okay with. That doesn't bother me. Kind of
okay, well,
but
no. What I want to ask you two ladies, because I know Dreaded Prince and Miss Dreaded Prince in a relationship, so I want to ask you, Tia and Ro. So what happens when you just meet a regular guy and do y'all ever have regular sex ever again?
Yes. I have had I guess BDSM qualified sex. I prefer to be the dominant, even when I'm not a dom in the sense of I am practicing impact play on you or humiliation. I'm still very dominant in my sexual exchanges. So we may not be doing more of the intense or extreme scenes, but I'm still very much in charge in my sex.
So you can ride a dick longer than 3 minutes.
Yeah. I used to play volleyball. Squatting ain't no thing. Squatting ain't no thing over here.
What about you,
will
Ro?
I? It's not if I can, but it's if I will. It's a very different conversation. And it
You're
depends.
a little older now. You're a little older, and when you squat, them knees crack. You might need some WD-40.
I just feel like that's something someone has to earn. That's a reward. I'm still very much in the mindset, even if I'm having more vanilla sex, I'm still very much in the mindset of my goddess worship practices. So I'm still based on discipline and reward. So if I'm there are certain things I'm willing to give to you, but you have to show me some level of devotion still. Even if it's a more vanilla aspect of sex, I still have certain boundaries or certain guidelines I'm not willing to settle on.
Got you. What about you, Ro?
I like that. I like that. I can't go back to the regular smegular degular just because I am so submissive, and you just can't give that type of loving to just anyone. I mean, I don't know. It has to be some type of strong dominance in play, and I don't know. I just can't do the regular thing anymore. Once I've crossed that line, it's just like, okay, so it's a select few that can have this type of access to me. Then I'm just like, okay, yeah, run it. But just regulars, no, I can't do it.
I got you. So, all right, Mrs. and Mrs. Dreaded Prince, we got a question from one of the viewers out here. They say, what are some of y'all fetishes?
Okay, well, I'll start. We're into knife play, wax play. I also wanted to mention, since you brought up the whole, mimic of a scripture on your shirt, we're also in a religious as well.
Okay.
Religious role play. We're both primal, so we've marked each other, in the sense of like animals.
And that's like knife. That's in a knife play, right?
Well, no. When I'm talking about primal play, as far as marking each other, we've pissed on before. Like,
okay.
When it comes to
like branding your territory. I got you.
Yeah. So when it comes to primal play, we may pet each other, wrestle around, things like that. As I mentioned, the marking. We're also into anal. So yeah, she loves anal. What else? Orgasm denial, forced orgasm. Shit, there's a bunch of shit. It's hard to list all that shit.
Everything but dying, basically. Some of my favorites. I like age play. That's a thing for me. I also like I like dressing up. I guess you could put that as role playing, but sometimes I like to be a little furry animal. I might have a little ears and a little butt plug back there, long little foxtail or something.
Got you.
And I like to be fed, and what is it? It's called feederism, and usually it's kind of like you'll see it more in like the SSBBWs, like where you see people like feeding them and like rubbing on their belly and stuff like that. That's one of my kinks. I absolutely love being fed and fucked and rubbed and all that good stuff.
So Dreaded Prince, you feed all the time then, I'm guessing.
Well, we actually haven't engaged in that too much just yet. Only because I don't like to waste food like that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, she asked me nicely, we can do it. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. All right, Ro, what's your fetishes, Ro?
So I really love wax play, impact play for sure. Even though I don't like anal, like that's a different type of pain. Just pain, period. Knife play is pretty dope.
But hold on, I got a question to ask you before you saying what you're saying. You took a horse whip, but can't take a dick in the booty. That's crazy right there.
No. You have to understand, like that hit, that slash went so quick. The dick in the booty, you got to ease that dick in the booty, and it ain't that piece. It's just I just can't.
Patience and lube for your first time. Patience and lots of lube.
They got anal ease. It numb the outside and the inside.
You see, I'm in the right space right here because I have a mental block. Before all of this, I had just a mental block with the whole ass and traumatized too. There's a lot of people that didn't know what they were doing, just like take this dick, girl, and it just traumatized me. So me and anal, we just ain't there. But any type of impact play, I love to be hit. That's just something that just turns me all the way on. Role playing as well, that's pretty dope. Shit, I got a list too, but those are my main. Like you get a flog and tie me down, and I'm that's it. That's where I'm at.
I see y'all questions, callers. I see y'all questions, fans. Let me finish with Tia first. All right, Tia, what about you?
So I'm into a lot of group sex. I'm into exhibitionism. I'm into voyeurism. I'm into pegging. I absolutely love pegging. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world. And when I'm
I know
talking about
somebody else.
pegging,
I
I am
know
talking
somebody
about,
else is into pegging. I know somebody
I
real dear to
love
me is love
pegging.
pegging.
My name on
Okay.
Twitter used to be Princess Pegasus. I love this shit. Like, I literally just it literally is in my heart. But I'm into knife play. I'm okay with impact play, but it's more of a visual. Like, I like the visual afterwards more than I actually like the pain aspect of impact play. Like, I just want to see it. I don't want to feel it. I don't know how you do both. But I love anal, but like you, I have had negative experiences with partners. So I actually primarily practice anal as a masturbatory practice instead of as a partner thing. But yeah, I love it. It's awesome. It's just that a lot of people who do anal learned their techniques from porn, and porn doesn't really do a lot of work with consent or with using lube or with like warm up. Like it's like you get on porn and they're like, "Hey, what's up? I'm the pizza man."
That was my next question that I wanted to get to. But before we go to that question versus BDSM versus regular porn, I wanted to ask. One of the fans asked, "What does blood play include?" Blood play include. Anybody can answer. Anybody.
So for me, what it includes is it's a combination. You can use knives. For some people, it can also be menstrual blood. So when I'm dealing with some submissives, menstruation and my period is a part of it for certain submissives. For me, I enjoy small cuts that like a drop of blood. You see that one tear cry? You're like, oh, look, it's so sad in the movies. For me, I'm like, oh, look at that one droplet of blood. I'm like, that's doing it for me. But I grew up watching like Twilight and shit, so like I'm forever ruined. Like I'm really into blood play. But it can be anything from cuts to scrapes or burns or anything that produces blood. And it doesn't also have to involve real blood. For some people, it can be imitation blood, or like, oh, we were role playing as vampires and I squirted the, whatever the Walmart blood you buy, or something that looks like I got food coloring and something and I made it look like. Yeah.
I got you. Where was? Oh, yeah. So that one more before we go to the other question I was going to ask. Sir Dreaded Prince, give me, one of the fans said, what's the example of pain play?
Pain play? Well, I mean, that's really all of the things that we mentioned, because when it comes to anything that we do as far as impact play, knife play, there's levels to it. I mean, I could take a knife and make it feel like a tickle, or I could take a knife and feel like you're being stabbed, but you're not. We can go as far as actually bloodletting with a knife. But when it comes to pain play, you are typically dealing with people that enjoy giving pain or suffering, and people that enjoy receiving pain or suffering. So I have a bit of a sadist in me, and she's definitely a masochist. I mean, she's asked me to make her cry. So in that particular instance, as I mentioned, you got impact play, where you're using things like your bare hands with spanking, body punching for some, floggers, paddles, whips, anything that will induce a sense of pain. And being that you said pain, I'm assuming that you're only talking about physical pain. So that's why I'm mentioning these. Even with knives, I use those as impact play, because some of the knives I have are pretty big. Like I have a sword so long and yay wide enough to actually spank or paddle somebody with.
Right.
And I'm a Florentine type of guy. When I say Florentine, I like to use pretty much almost two of everything. So I have like 2 matching swords, 2 matching machetes, 2 floggers that match each other that I would use for flogging, things like that. But that falls into pain play, anything to induce some type of physical pain. Now, if you're going into some type of emotional pain, that's when you go into humiliation, degradation, things like that. I think she mentioned dick humiliation, where you pretty much degrade the person as far as the size of the dick or how ugly it is, or so on and so forth. And there's different levels to that too, or different types of that.
Got you. I totally got you. So now we want to go to, like, what Tia was saying. It was like, the cipher between of BDSM and porn, like, far as like the ass shots that are given, like where's the thin line at between it?
Mm-hmm. For me, it's like the after the aftercare. Like in porn, we fucking, we doing what we doing, we get into it, bam bam. You know what I'm saying? It's the whole experience, and then that's it. We gonna cut. Everybody going about their way. I think more for me is after you kick my ass, I expect for you to love on me and bring me down. I mean, as a submissive, we go into a space, we call it subspace. I can get so high off adrenaline and of everything that's going on, and then it's going to come to a point where I come down, and then that's where I expect my dominant or who's ever with me in that situation to just bring me back into reality, not just leaving me out there. And because that mentally, you take yourself there. So I just think that's that fine line for me, is just having someone there with whatever aftercare is for whoever is receiving it, the hugging, the touching, the whatever that entails. That part right there isn't missing. So that, to me, that is the line. We ain't just fucking and we going home and doing all that. You actually going to sit here and love on me and make sure I'm good in my mental state before we move on to the next. Yeah.
You must definitely be reading my mind, bro, because that was like coming next, like the aftercare, but you got into it right there, sweetie. I love it. All right, so I think somebody else was getting ready to ask next. What's the the thin line between what's going on?
Well, as she said, the aftercare, but there's also something before that. There's negotiations. Now, granted, some porn videos that you may see a tiny bit of what the negotiation looks like or what it could look like. So you may see at the beginning of the porn, because I watch porn too. So for instance, you may see, the young lady sitting in front of the camera, or the man, depending on what you're watching, sitting in front of the camera, and you hear the camera guy or producer or whatever asking them, so, what do you enjoy? And yes, that's a part of it, but negotiations is much deeper than that, and it takes, it hopefully takes a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
You want to know what the person's hard limits are, soft limits, things like that. Yeah. You want to talk about trauma, and people don't always talk about that. What is something that may trigger you? Because we don't want to be in the midst of a scene and I do something that causes you to freak out or shut down or get up and attack me, whatever the case may be. So we want to talk about what your triggers and traumas are, if you are aware of them. Of course, you want to talk about the safe words, but everybody knows about that, even because of the 50 Shades of bullshit. But you want to talk about safe words.
That was my next thing. You already read my mind too, brother. But go ahead, finish what you're doing. I'm gonna ask my question regardless.
Yeah. So I mean, just like Rose said, when it comes to the aftercare, but it's also the aftercare, and also before that, prior to the negotiations that take place before an actual scene. I think that's really the main thing, one of the main things that caused the differentiation between the two, porn and actual BDSM.
All right.
I also think what porn is missing is the prep work. A lot of these scenes take time. Sometimes they take materials. You can't, everything isn't so spur of the moment and impulsive. Like when you're doing impact play, there are certain parts of the body you want to hit, and there are certain parts that you don't. There's a big knowledge gap, and it looks easy because these people have been doing this forever. Like in porn, they're like, oh yeah, everyone can just take a dick, but like in their ass. But that's not how that works.
Right.
Like there might be fingering, or they might be like implants or butt plugs that they use to get themselves here. Like, oh, I saw this porn star take 3 dicks in her vagina. That means you know, like there was time and effort that went into that. And there's a knowledge level. Like you can't just get into blood play and knife play if you don't know certain things about like anatomy, like, cause you don't want to nick something and now a person's bleeding out. So like there's like, one of the terms is like risk aware BDSM. It's like making sure that not only you're negotiating and you're doing the aftercare, but you're also knowledgeable about what you're doing. Like before you rig somebody up with rope and put them in the sky, you want to make sure that rope is sturdy and you tight them right so they don't fall down. Like And it's not as simple as I went to my local Lowe's, I bought me some twine, and now here I am, like putting somebody, like you need to know body weight capacities for certain things. And I think that's what's missing a lot. And then people don't have porn literacy, where a lot of times our first conversations about sex, we learned from porn. So we never got to the fact that all these things were missing. You just think like, I saw it and now I must do it. And like, there's no like content advisory, viewer discretion. Like, it's just like, oh, I see girls getting smacked now. I think my girl wants to get smacked. That's not happening.
I totally get you. Go ahead, Dirty Prince. I'm listening.
You know, just I got to touch all the bases because, you know, like she mentioned, you know, she mentioned RAC, risk awareness consensual kink. There's also prick, which is also prick. Well, anyway, there's different forms of consent, and one of the ones she mentioned was RAC, risk aware consensual kink. There's consensual non-consent. Of course, there's the usual that everyone has heard: safe, sane, and consensual. When it comes to these, each term means something, and a lot of times when it comes to these terms that you may hear, they're for your safety. They're taking consideration before you do these type of things. There's also, you should have the awareness that you are taking a risk. Everything that we do is risky. It's not safe, and that's why some of us don't necessarily subscribe to safe, sane, and consensual, because it kind of excludes the rest of us who do some edgier forms of play. But when we do these things, we negotiate, we educate, or we make a person aware that this could happen. We try to make sure what you could possibly handle and what you possibly can't. For instance, you know, she mentioned as far as cutting somebody that could possibly have, you know, cut the wrong part and somebody's gushing blood and all this other stuff, you can't get it to stop. So you might hear somebody ask you when they're negotiating with you, do you have any health conditions? You know, are you on blood thinners? You know, if you're on a blood thinner, it's going to be hard for your blood to clot, and it's going to, if you get nicked, you're going to bleed a lot. It's a small cut. So a lot of those things, like we mentioned, that we're, you know, making mention to as far as the difference between real life and porn, is what's important, and that's why we're bringing it up. So,
got you. Go ahead. I'm listening.
He was mentioning personal responsibility, informed, consensual kink.
Right. So you yourself have a responsibility to also make yourself informed. I mean, Google can sometimes be your friend. You know, you can easily just get on your phone, Google something real quick, and you'll find the answer, or what could possibly take place in this type of thing. So yeah, go ahead. So
we're gonna backtrack what you stated, because that was my next thing. You know, basically to ask y'all, how did y'all feel about 50 Shades of Grey? But you said it was 50 Grades of Ish bullshit, basically. So are y'all, all four of y'all, consensus that is not really what goes on? Or that was just mediocre, that what really goes on?
Let me just say, that is what happens, unfortunately, to people who are not educated, people who don't do their research and end up walking into the wrong dominant or the wrong, you know, submissive, because you can have, you know, on both sides, it could be narcissistic, just abusive, toxic ass people. So unfortunately, in reality, 50 Shades of Grey is actually some people's reality. It's not what, you know, BDSM actually is, but it happens. It happens. It does happen.
Because I guarantee you, for every wonderful, erotic, exciting, arousing fucking story you can hear, there's a fucking horror story. Not necessarily tied to theirs, but for somebody. Right. So yeah.
Gotcha. Look like you want to say something, Ro.
No, I agree with them wholeheartedly. I just think it set a lot of people up for failure because, you know, they see it and then they jump into something that they really are not prepared for, and it fucked a lot of people heads up. That's man and woman. So yeah, I was just agreeing with them. Like, yeah, that was some crazy shit there, because that ain't, you got to know what's going on before you jump into that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about you, Tig? Because you laughing.
I think here's my thing. I agree with what everybody said. I think the way that BDSM was depicted in 50 Shades is really awful. I think it gave a lot of people on the outside who had a bone to pick with BDSM ammunition that they didn't need. But at the same time, I do like the fact that it opened up a lot of people's eyes to the fact that there is BDSM out there. For some people, reading the books and watching the movies, they were like, ooh, like I want to get into this lifestyle. Now, granted, I hope when you decide to get in, you do a little background research and you realize that this is not exactly what we're doing. But I do think it was cool for BDSM to hit the mainstream. And so it takes a little bit of the stigma away from it. But like I said, they did such a piss poor job of displaying BDSM that it's probably hit or miss from person to person. Like if someone's only interaction with BDSM is 50 Shades of Grey, you never know what kind of perception they have of the lifestyle. Like they could be like, oh yeah, and then when Christian Grey did this, that was so hot. And I'm like, no, that wasn't. That was creepy. Like imagine if a dude showed up to your house and you were like, how do you know where I live? He's like, oh yeah, and I got your bank statement. It's like, I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police. Like, it's not okay. But I think it could be beneficial as well.
We got some questions out here. Anybody can answer because we got a couple minutes left before we got to go over to y'all invited to Clubhouse because I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some questions that need to be asked y'all. You come into the Amsterdam after show over at Clubhouse, and y'all can answer some,
I don't have an iPhone.
Oh, you got an iPad?
I don't have an iPhone. Well, I guess we do. It's the babies, but I don't know. I guess we could borrow it for an hour or two. But
just borrow it real quick.
iPhone, any Apple products, iPhones, iPads, iPods, Macs, you can come on through because I'm pretty sure they're gonna have a lot of entertaining questions for you. But we got some questions out here that anybody can answer. One fan said, "Can you have them talk about vetting, consideration, ownership, and collaring?"
Yes, I absolutely love that question, y'all. And I'm just gonna jump out there because I'm vetting now. But y'all, that part is important. Okay, you gotta ask the right questions. You gotta know who you are dealing with. I don't give a damn how long it takes you. All right, and if they move on because it's taking you too long to get where you trying to go energetically with this person, let them move the fuck on because they're not for you. Vetting is important. I don't know what else to say about that, but y'all, if people are looking to get into this or what, if you're starting somewhere, start at the basics and know who the fuck you out here dealing with. All right, like that is number one and key to all of this.
I would recommend doing it like you do a job. Like if you're interviewing someone for a job, ask them what their experience level is. Like there are some people who would tell you like, oh yeah, I'm a dom, just because they heard the word somewhere in passing, you know, but like ask them what that means to them. What does a dominant mean? Like what are your lanes of expertise? Because most people who are actually dominants have lanes of expertise where they're like, oh, I'm a dom, but I'm into shibari, or I'm into knife play, or I'm into like latex and erotic asphyxiation or humiliation play, you know. Ask them how long they've been doing it. So if you're like, yeah, I'm a dom and I'm into rope play, how long? Oh, well, you know, so see what had happened was I took this class last week, and last week, you want to tie me up and you just had one class 1 week ago? Like, you can't be doing that, you know? So ask the same kind of questions you would ask someone if you were their employer, like, hey, what are your qualifications for this? And not everyone has to go through a formal training, I don't believe, just because the way finances and access and accessibility works. But there are things you can do on your own that give you some experience too. And like ask them like, hey, have you ever fucked up? And if so, how did you handle that situation? Like when you fucked up, what happened? Like you were like, oh, I nicked somebody and I realized I didn't have a first aid kit nearby. or we didn't even
Right.
have one in the house, or like I'm in the fire play and I ain't even got a fire extinguisher. Like ask them what happened, and then to see how they learned and grew from that. And then you could say like, oh, that's a responsible person there, you know. And then whatever your gut's telling you, if you feeling red flags, let them flags fly and get the hell up out of there. Like there are other doms out there, you know.
One thing I want to bring up, my mentor of 3 years, God rest his soul, Sir Strange Mason, he told me, he said, when you vet like your life depends on it. And you know, a lot of people go through the motions, you know, they'll ask around and things like that. I mean, if you can, by all means, run that background check, you get all that you can, because you know, we've seen some instances and, you know, sad moments where people have lost their lives, people have been robbed, set up, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And vetting, for the love of all things BDSM, vetting does not mean that you belong to that person. Do not let anybody tell you that, because people are like, oh, I'm vetting, you can't do X, Y, and Z. That, no, you just getting to know somebody. Exactly. And when you enter a process of consideration, that just means this person is potentially considering you. It does not mean that, oh, hey, I'm considering you, you're mine, you can't do this. You know, so when you enter a consideration phase, that's exactly what it is. And mind you, these things can take, people have different ways. I'm not shading nobody. It can be 2 months, 2 years, so on and so forth between each period. And once you get collared, that means, hey, you have done everything that I saw fit. You have passed these tests. You have, you know, graduated with flying colors on showing all the things under my house rules or whatever. I'm going to place this collar or whatever kind of adornment on your body to show, hey, you're mine, and this is what it is. And that will be followed by a contract 9.9 times out of 10.
Okay, but okay, we're gonna go to the next question. What about attending munches?
Go to a munch.
Please.
Right now, because of the whole pandemic, of course, you might be hesitant to do so. But just like this would possibly be considered as a munch.
Yeah.
Go to a munch. It's a very relaxed thing when you go to a munch. It's a social event of kinksters or people that's in the BDSM or interested in the BDSM. Go to a munch, because 9 times out of 10, you know, when the world opens back up properly, you know, you'll go to a munch that's possibly at your local bar or your local restaurant, just to meet and socialize with people. It's nothing to be worried or really anxious about unless you have social anxiety. I can kind of understand. But you know, take a friend. It's no problem at all with doing that. And all you're doing is just getting to know people with that, you know. And so that'll get you in touch with people that know of maybe some classes in your local area if you want to learn some things. Hell, you know, before the whole world shut down, there was conferences and things like that. We were supposed to be going to a conference in Atlanta called Southeast Leatherfest. And that's a wonderful thing, for example. You know, conferences which are full of workshops and classes and opportunities to play, as far as doing scenes.
Got you.
Yeah, definitely go to a munch. I mean, never, you know, if you're that interested in it, go. That's all I can say.
All right. You know, you answered the other question because somebody said about the pandemic, and you answered that the world slowed down. So, how do you feel? How do you feel about the movie Secretary?
I love the movie Secretary, even though it's comical to me. I love the movie Secretary. Hell, in all honesty, I would refer that movie before I refer 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, like I said, even though it's a comical side to it, but because there's a comical side to it, it's not all the way taken seriously. Where some people have taken 50 Shades of Grey very seriously. But yeah, I love the movie Secretary. There's other BDSM entertainment, you know, media out there that was attempted to bring BDSM to the forefront. Excuse me, been drinking. Like say the story of O. Even though that's really extreme,
right?
Very extreme. There is the story of O, but they still have more similarities to the actual thing than 50 Shades of Grey and even the Secretary. There's still even discussion of different things or the possibility of how far it can go if you're willing, if that's what you're wanting. But even still, there's still that level of fantasy because, and this is what I wanted to mention about 50 Shades of Grey, you're not always going to run into a millionaire. You're not going to always run into somebody that's got a villa on some island overseas. You're not going to always run into somebody that's got a harem, and this is for the dominance, the male head dominance, that they just going to get all these women. You know, you're not going to, you're not going to have some household full of women and submissives or whatever. You got to come back to reality. You got to make it practical. You got to make it fit for you. And you got to operate within your means. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Before we get up out of it, I got two more questions before we get out of here. So this is to everybody. You know, sex and orgasms, are they important to you? Do you need them?
I don't think orgasm should be the focal point of sex. I think that makes sex goal-oriented. And then you can lose the satisfaction of sex because you're trying to achieve a thing and you're so focused on the end that you're not appreciating the journey that you're going on. And I think a lot of people, if they really sat back and thought about the sexual experience they were having, even if they didn't achieve an orgasm, they were probably still satisfied along the way. Just because you don't have an orgasm doesn't mean the sex was bad. And I think our society has a really problematic relationship with sex that we're like, well, did you orgasm? Like, okay, but did he make you come? Like, but did this happen? Like, and often we should be asking, like, did you just enjoy the experience in general? Not all the time are you going to come, and that's not always to the fault of your partner. I know as women, it's really easy for us to say, like, but you ain't made me come. My pussy dried up when you did X, Y, and Z. But sometimes we stress. Like, sometimes you had a bad day. Sometimes your head's just not in the game. Like, for anybody who's played sports, we all have bad games. Like, that's the same way that sex happens. And if you're so focused on getting to the orgasm, then you're missing the ride along the way.
Right.
Yes. Huh?
I need that one, Rick. I need that one.
I agree.
Because even the act, I mean, because people say, you know, you need to have orgasms to release stress, but even still, this activity helps release stress. I mean, it releases endorphins and things like that, adrenaline, everything that you need to possibly help calm your mood. I mean, it doesn't necessarily always have to end in an orgasm. Enjoy the experience, like she said. So.
Got you. But, you know, I definitely got to ask this because you reached on this earlier, Sir Dreaded. What are y'all safe words, man? I'm curious about this. What are y'all safe words? Shit.
I mean, sometimes you don't have to do that. I mean, I at one point in time, I had gave a previous partner a safe word because I was worried about going into a bit of a dom space or a frenzy or whatever during the scene where I want you to say something that's actually going to break my focus. So I think I told her to use Luke the Booty or something like that. Just something to make me laugh. Just something that's like, what? Something like that. But typically, I mean, the safe word doesn't have to be something elaborate. If you're dealing with somebody's experience, if you say red, I mean, I'm going to stop. That's going to be enough to break my focus. Okay, she said red. I need to stop, period. But it doesn't necessarily always have to be elaborate. So.
Got you. What about you, Miss Dreaded?
Because my spouse here knows my body language so well, he can literally tell off of my energy and, body movements and sounds like, okay, she has had enough or change position. But when I'm publicly playing or when I'm pro bottom, I'll either use the red light system, which is the green, yellow, orange, sometimes in red. Or my favorite one was mango. I just holler out mango, and that's it.
Mango. What about you, Ro?
SpongeBob.
What about you, Tim?
Yeah, right on. SpongeBob.
When I was dabbling in submission, it was Sapphire, and then now it's Pegasus. I'm obsessed.
Hold on. But you said you are the queen peg, so he might think you want to peg him because you saying Pegasus.
No, it's saying peg and saying Pegasus are two very different things. One, because it reminds me of Hercules, and I'm like, oh, now I'm thinking about like children's things. So I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Damn, has been great. Y'all definitely, enlightened me, schooled me today. I thought I was doing something by just saying, hey, I got $40. I thought that was the going rate. But I see it's definitely different out here. But this is definitely enlightened. So if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, you got any handles, like social media handles, like Twitter or anything like that, just in case they wanted to join the munch?
Well, say for instance, I mean, you can always find me, search Dreaded Prince. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook under that name, or you can search House of Royals. That's my Instagram name since they banned me off of Instagram on my other page. Got your handles?
The best way to reach me is my Instagram, which is _ that dark skinned chick, Petunia _ and chick is CHIC, not with a K. You can reach me on Twitter at Sammy the Fox, and that's FAWX. And
also, I mean, if you want to check out our content, Deviant Reverie, you can find us on OnlyFans, Pornhub, Minivids, Wrist Chat, whatever your preference is. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, bro.
Oh, I'm a closet freak, so I mean, I'm not out there like that, but I do provide aftercare, things of that nature. If you guys ever look into the hashtag Kinked Up ATL, I do have family over there that does munches and different things whenever a pandemic, does its thing, and I do, give my services to stuff, things like that. So hashtag Kinked Up ATL. I'm all up and through there providing sensual aftercare and services of that nature. So that's where I'm at.
What about you, Tia?
So I run a sex ed IG. It's at Slippery When Wet, and the E in Slippery is a 3. And then you can find me on my personal Twitter account at The Whittle Demon, and it's not little, it's Whittle with a W. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Oh man, this has definitely been great, but I definitely want y'all. Somebody said, what's the couple's name again? I think they're looking for one of your handles with the name. Oh, House of Royals. House of Royals, am I correct?
Yeah, House of Royals. Because of how Instagram is, I had to separate it. So _house _of _royals _ or you just type it in. It will usually pop up pretty easily. So yeah, that's us. If you like I said, look for us on Facebook, just search Dreaded Prince. You'll see me on there or on Twitter. And if you got any other questions, feel free to email me too. Search Dreaded Prince. That's it.
Well, they said Ro teaches yoga too.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So y'all do know me out here. Oh, yes.
I've heard one, like you've moved since, right?
No, she's
still here. Okay, so yeah, my slave is actually one of her yoga clients. So yeah. So she always comes home relaxed, peaceful, smile on her face.
Yeah,
y'all need to search out. Yeah, y'all need to search her out.
So, Ro, you are, listen, I always tell people this is my house, but you are always welcome. So y'all are definitely welcome back. And Ro, I definitely got to reach out to you because I have a health and fitness show out that I'm trying to wait for Tracy G from Sway in the Morning to come on, talk about her yoga and her mental health things that she do. So I definitely got to have you back.
Nice, thank you. Okay, appreciate that.
But all y'all welcome back. Trust me, y'all coming back because y'all gotta educate me some more. Like I said, I thought I was out here doing some shit, but I ain't doing nothing. Shit, like I'm gonna pop in hostel tonight and see what the fuck going on.
Hey, if you can send us the Clubhouse info, we'll steal the baby's tablet for the night.
Yeah, I need the Clubhouse info as well.
Get a Clubhouse info form. Right now, we got to get out of here. This is Amsterdam Talk, BDSM. Thank you for Sir Dreaded Prince and his lady. Ro and herself, Tia and herself, thank you for their knowledge. We love it. Head on over to Clubhouse, Amsterdam Talk after show, where you can still ask these people, well, you can ask them questions. I don't say these people because I know how Black people get offensive about it, but you can ask the lovely people that came on here, ask them questions and more that you need to know. Head on over to Clubhouse. We starting at 10:30. I'm Rod, super producer Ava. This is Amsterdam Talk. Don't forget $100 for the winner of the HBCU Singles Lounge Busset Challenge will be will be shown on the 21st at the award show. Y'all invited to the award show if y'all want to come.
Hey.
Y'all invited to the award show?
Sounds lit.
Yep.
The award show is 8 o'clock on Thursday. Ava will supply you with the details. And listen, I see a lot of people out there. Damn you, iPhone people. Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is with us. We gotta go. And Friday, if you're not doing anything, 9 o'clock, Oxcord Wars will be going again. The reigning champion, D. Martinez, will be in the house again with the Oxcord Wars. It's our dumbed down version of Versus, but it's always good. So you can check in. You can get the information from Ava as well. I'll see y'all at the post-game show. Thank y'all for coming, man. And remember, tomorrow isn't promised. Get your cheeks clapped today. Coronavirus 3.4.
Amen.